Yes, we are live. So hello, anybody who is already here watching. My name is Hala with Halo Moon Studios. This is Atreyu. He wanted to say hi too. And today we're going to be interviewing Megan Aldridge, and her new book is coming out June 14th called Queendom of Chaos. So Megan, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. So thank you so much for having me on your channel. I think it's going to be super fun tonight. So as she said, my name is Megan Aldridge, and my debut novel, Queendom of Chaos, is coming out on June 14th. It's a dark fantasy historical romance novel, and it has elements of the early 20th century, like the Deep South America, and then Greek mythology and portal fantasy. So it's just kind of this big mix. I'm actually running a pre-order giveaway right now for my story, and anyone who pre-orders my novel will get early access to the first 4 chapters of the novel, and then you'll be entered into the giveaway for one of 3 prize packs, which is really cool because I partnered up with some other indie authors, and so other indie author books are in the prize packs, and then Queendom of Chaos merch, kind of, like my t-shirt. Yeah, that's one of the prizes. And then just like other little random stuff in there. And so if you want to read the prologue and chapter 1 for free, you can go to my website, which is meganaldridge.com. And yeah, you can read it there.
Yes. And I will put the pre-order giveaway link to her video in the chat here. I'm being bombarded by puppies, so bear with me. You can't have a video on this channel without my dogs.
I mean, it's a good interruption if you're going to be interrupted.
Right? If you're going to be interrupted, let it have 4 legs and fur. Awesome. So I've already read your book, and I'm already super excited to read it, the next one, but also to discuss certain things about it. But before we do that, let's learn a little bit more about you. We have some questions prepared. So when did you start writing? So not just Queendom of Chaos, but in general, what got you into writing?
I would say like school assignments, like, in elementary school, they'd give you like those creative writing assignments or whatever. And I really loved them. And then they started giving you the opportunity where it was like, okay, here's an assignment and you can do whatever you want as long as it's something creative. And I always chose stories for that. And then I kind of went from school assignments to writing my own stuff. I would say around 4th, 5th grade, probably, I really started doing that. And then I was in school and I kind of got away from it. And then after college, I was like, you know what? We got to give this writing thing a go. So, yeah.
So were you a big reader when you were younger, and did that kind of inspire your writing? Okay.
Oh, for sure. I loved, I mean, you're probably definitely going to be able to like all guess my age based on these, but like the Mary-Kate and Ashley books, those were like my jam. I loved those ones, like the Scooby-Doo books, Boxcar Children, all that sort of stuff. I loved reading. I would fall asleep with the light on, with the book on my chest. Like, yeah, I was always reading as a kid.
Great. Yeah, we are in the same generation, so I'm just like, yep, I remember those.
Yep.
All the like ongoing episodic series, I'm here for it. I'm so here for it. So now that you are, I guess, writing consistently again and working on writing projects, what is your process? Are you typically an outliner, or do you pants your stories?
I wish I could pants my stories, but no, I'm super organized, and I'm like, I want all the little details. So I outline everything. I actually have outline for my entire series, not just book 1. I know some people will go by books, but I'm like, no, I need to know the whole thing. So I'm definitely an outliner.
I wish I could say the same, but it's a mix of both. But more often than not, I kind of have to let the characters tell me where they're going. Do you have a writing schedule, or do you just write whenever you feel like it?
I tried to have a writing schedule, and it almost made me like resent it. I was like, oh, I have to write right now. So I write when I want to write, which typically will still be sort of like the writing schedule, but I don't have to feel like I'm making myself doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Something consistent, but not like cutthroat by the book.
Yeah. If it's been like a couple
failure.
weeks, I'm like, oh shoot, I should probably be writing right now.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it's healthier that way, even though like I live by a calendar, but I rewrite it like every other day. So we can't. Who needs a schedule? I know a lot of authors typically are using like Scrivener, Campfire, Word. Do you have any special tools for organization like that, or do you just write on Google Drive?
I do like Scrivener. I'd never even heard of it before. And then, a lot of authors were talking about it and I was like, well, let's give it a try. So I use that a little bit. But mostly like a lot of my outlines and stuff, I'll just thought dump handwriting in journals. And then I kind of take that onto Scrivener and then take that and put it into Word. And then I have about a billion little Word files that are all organized super.
Right.
Yeah. Very, very.
Yeah. And expanding on that, are you like your Word files, are they like chapter by chapter, or is it the full novel document? Because I've done both and it's different.
Yes. I tried to do chapter by chapter and I didn't like it because I felt like I had 10,000 windows open at once, just trying to remember, the small detail. So I just like to have it all open, and then I can do like the find and replace feature and then just like search for exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I find that to be way easier.
Right. Especially when we're writing big fantasy novels with world building.
Yeah.
And you have like, I guess, timeline jumps in a way. So having that reference is very necessary.
And there's like, I believe 29 chapters in my book. And it's like, I don't always remember what little detail was in what chapter. So.
Right. So you can always double check.
Yep.
So aside from like the Mary Kate and Ashley books and all of those, do you have either from your childhood or recently a favorite book or a favorite author?
I have a few, yeah. So in high school, I was The Hunger Games. That was my series that I was obsessed with. I still watch the movies every year. I'm like, I have to watch it. What else? Oh, I have, you may not be able to see it, but this whole shelf here is Nicholas Sparks books. I love the Nicholas Sparks books.
Okay.
And then the Throne of Glass series is like, it's up there.
It's up there.
I love the Throne of Glass series too.
Gotcha. So I can definitely see where your inspirations are coming from then, having read some of your work. I have not read Nicholas Sparks though. He's a fantasy writer though, isn't he?
Romance.
He's romance.
Yeah, so a lot of the romance movies like The Notebook and A Walk to Remember.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at you, Sam and Annabelle. Just saying. And then aside from being an author, just a little bit more about yourself here. Looks like you do some editing services. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I do proofreading, which is super fun. So if you don't know when proofreading is supposed to happen, in the editing process, you'll have your developmental editor and you go back and edit. You could have a couple rounds with your developmental editor. You do line edits, and then it goes to your copy editor. And then once you think you have everything done, then you give it to your proofreader, and we're just going to find everything else that needs to be fixed. So
everything.
It's like the last set of professional eyes on your book. So it's a lot of pressure. But
yes, and commas. That was a big thing with mine. I was like, I didn't know you use commas that much.
Yep. When do you use commas? A lot of people think, oh, I took a breath here, I must put a comma here. But like,
right.
That's not the rule.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the bane of my existence is commas, apparently. Hi. We're still interviewing, bud. Do you want to ask the next question? No, he's being camera shy. Oh. But he's pulling me out of the camera. Alrighty. So now we get to talk about your upcoming book, Queendom of Chaos. So as you said in your introduction, it's set in early 20th century. I think 1905 was the year about. Yeah, 1905, Deep South, with I guess an interracial couple, Sam and Annabelle, and I really, really enjoyed their romance and their story, but what inspired them in particular? Like, it's not something you see a lot.
Yeah.
with fantasy especially, but what inspired Sam and Annabelle?
So they kind of have, two parts, like the outside forces of where they are in history. I just thought it was really fun. I love historical fiction, and obviously having them, Sam is a Black character and then Annabelle's white character, it automatically just adds another form of trouble, sort of, that they have to get through.
Yes.
If I had put them in modern time, I feel like it would have been a lot more boring. I'm like, what would have been the driving force behind a lot of the decisions that they were making? A lot of times they couldn't go find help, and it's like, if they were in modern times, why couldn't they go find help?
Right.
So it was just kind of that other layer there.
Okay, so you had them as a couple, and you were like, which time or what situation gives them more conflict versus starting with Deep South and creating characters that way?
See, it was kind of both. I was like, okay, that I love history, just different points in history, like even World War II. I'm just fascinated by all these different points in history. And it was like, you don't see a lot of the early 20th century, you'll see a lot of, in the times of slavery, you'll see, and then you'll see World War I, but it's like, there's a lot of time between that where things were happening. And it was like, I just kind of wanted to explore that world a little bit.
Which was fantastic. Like,
thank you so much.
Obviously it's not the best time for that, for an interracial couple, but I thought you handled it very well.
Thank you.
I was super like rooting for them, and all of the struggles. I was like, oh, she went there, but that's actually real. And
yeah, I definitely didn't want to do disservice to anything that happened. I was like, there's going to be heavier themes, but I can't ignore them. I can't ignore what would be happening. So I did hire a sensitivity reader, and I had a lot of Black beta readers, and they were amazing. Like, they gave me such great feedback, such great advice. So it's like, I did have some stuff that, through my lens, through my eyes, I wouldn't have known, that they pointed out to me, and I fixed things. So it was like, it was much more fair to the story.
Definitely.
Yeah. Specifically for their romance, I just wanted like a healthy romantic couple, which you don't always see a lot.
Do you ever?
Yeah. I was like, can we please have a couple who we're not worried that they're going to break up? Like, I'll tell you right now, Sam and Annabelle, they're a solid couple. They don't have this petty drama or like this little miscommunication where a healthy couple would figure it out in 5 seconds, being some sort of breaking point where it's like, just talk to each other. Like, come on, guys.
Yes.
So I really wanted that. So that was definitely the inspiration for them as a couple. And, being there in history, it was like, they had a lot more to overcome, which made their bond together even stronger. So.
Yes. And I applaud you for that, especially in the genre that we write in with fantasy, a bit of historical fiction and whatnot. And yours is more adult, but I still think you could reach into the hello. He's like spinning me around. Okay. I think you still could reach into the YA audience for sure. There's nothing too crazy out there that I'd say.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely just heavier themes. If YA wants to read it, they can. But
for sure. Absolutely. But having that healthy relationship where your drama between the characters is not because, like you said, petty arguments. Will they, won't they? It was so refreshing. And I think that's what really drew me into that first third of the book, where we're with Sam and Annabelle exclusively almost. Because I don't read a lot of contemporary set, even though it's not like contemporary to modern day, but like real world, because I'm like, I don't care about your problems. Take me over to the fantasy world.
Yeah.
But this was just so well written, and it's a time period you don't read about a lot. And like I said, it was really well done. And
thank you.
It's so nice to have romance that isn't overly romantic. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
because it's established, but it's also building because they haven't been able to pursue certain avenues as when they were living in where were they initially at? Not Savannah, that's where they went.
Charleston.
Charleston, yes, when they were in Charleston, so they couldn't be together. And seeing where that progresses is just a very refreshing look on a romance and a time period piece.
Yep.
So kudos to that.
Yeah.
But we do know there's fantasy in this book.
Yes.
How the heck did you connect these?
That's a great question. So for me, I knew, I mean, in chapter 1, we have this incident, Sam disappears in the flash.
Yes.
And that was kind of like where the idea started was, okay, there's this incident and there's a flash. What is that flash going to be? And so it was like, is there going to be some sort of, like I had in my mind, had gone down like, is this going to be a ghost story? Is this going to be a horror story? Like what kind of story is this going to be? And then this like whole other world just kind of came to mind. And I was like, you know what? I could really play with this. So yeah.
Yes. And you played.
I did.
We're going to get into some more details about it, but it definitely has a very unique spin onto the other realm, the fantasy world that we become a part of. And I'm going to touch on that in more detail, but I don't want to spoil so many things, so we're going to take it slow. Did you have a particularly favorite scene to write in this book?
Favorite scene?
Or like what type of scenes do you enjoy writing, I guess?
I mean, there's so many scenes where I was like, oh, I loved writing this and this because they're just so different. I loved writing the scenes where everything kind of just slows down and it's calm and it's more focused on the characters and their bonding and connections. That was really fun for me because I could sort of just put in all the little details that really mean something, later in the book or just to each other. Those moments, you can just build up the characters. So while I do, have a lot of the action there, you can't really throw in these intimate moments or details or stuff into the action. So I really did like slowing it down. Let me try and think of like particular scenes since you've read it. Okay, so when the 4 characters are walking through the woods and Annabelle realizes like, oh, this is kind of like the Wizard of Oz right now.
Yes.
And they have like this little moment together. That was really fun because it was just like, there's so much heavy stuff going on for them right now. And they can just take this little moment and just like have a connection with each other. And so I really love that one.
Yes. And how much of the Wizard of Oz like kind of inspired you in this? Because it's referenced 3 or 4 times and I was like, okay, inspiration or just time appropriate? So.
It was definitely more time appropriate, but I found that it kind of did weave its way into the story a little bit. We get a line from Sam, which, in the book wouldn't have been there, but it was in the movie, sort of like, we're not in Kansas anymore. We sort of get a line like that from Sam. It's less cheesy. He doesn't say it out loud. He just kind of thinks to himself, like, what the heck is going on? But I had originally started with the Little Princess. And then I was like, based on when that came out, I was like, it shifted the timeline a little further than I wanted to go into the future by about a year. And so I was like, okay, what came out in that time that could really date us there? So it was The Wizard of Oz. And, you don't necessarily have to know when The Wizard of Oz came out, but you can think, okay, the movie came out and it was black and white. The book had to have come out, more than 50, 60 years ago. So it definitely gives you this sense right away that we're way far back in the past.
Yes. I think I cannot recall like exactly reading this is 1905 in the book, but you did sprinkle with the Wizard of Oz, with Roosevelt, just other. So I thought that was like very clever. So you weren't just being like, here we are in history. It's like, here we are.
Yeah.
If you care, you can figure out where we're at, or if you're just reading it, like go for it. But
yeah,
I thought that was really
sprinkle
cool.
in those tiny little details, like the locomotive train in the opening paragraph. I think it's like, you know, we don't have locomotives. When was that again? So
right, yes, little cookie crumbles, as I like.
Yeah, that's definitely what I wanted to leave.
Yes,
instead of just like having some random character like blatantly shouted out. I'm like, that
just
would be
be
a little
like
too,
happy election of gosh, whoever. like I said, I remember Roosevelt, but and my husband was like, which one, Teddy or Franklin? And I was just like, it was Roosevelt. It doesn't matter. It's not time. So I thought that was great, and I love when authors do that.
Thank you.
Did you have a favorite or a least favorite character to write?
Yeah, I have both. Okay, so I'll start with least favorite. My it's not one character, it's a group of characters, and it would be all the background characters that are just horrible.
I should have seen that one coming because I'm like, oh yeah.
I mean, obviously there's a lot of racism going around, and those were not easy to write. No, I felt very weird about it. Thank you. But like I said, you know, the sensitivity reader and the beta readers were very helpful filling in all those gaps for me. So yeah, like they suck, but
shouldn't have realized that one.
I'm like, I can't think of like a main character. The only thing I would maybe say like main character wise would maybe be like Jew or Octavia, just because we don't get a ton of their story yet, and I know their stories later on, so it's like I'm excited to get into that. So
but you couldn't expose too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
My favorite character to write would probably be Gadriel. Yeah, just because he's like the most morally gray character ever. And I love morally gray characters because you never know what they're going to do. You never know what they're going to say. And, you know, he starts off and he's very proper, and you just think he's like this perfect palace employee. You know, he's great with the queen and doing whatever she wants. And then he has this way of just getting under Sam's skin. He's very sarcastic and sassy, but in a way that's like still keeps him on the queen's good side. But Sam is just like, stop it. And so that was really fun to write.
And I'm going to put up a link in the chat for everybody to a video that you put up a while ago, not too long, with your characters, because you had some lovely, lovely character art done.
Oh, thank you. My character artist was fantastic. Did such an amazing job.
I think it's what hooked me into your channel. I was like, ooh, somebody did character art. I'm gonna come see what you got. So I'm gonna link that for you guys so you can check them out as well, since there is quite a diverse cast. Again, we're getting into like world building, plot things, so I don't know how much you want to share about that, but with it being a fantasy world, we still do have a lot of representation. So any thoughts or any comments you'd like to leave on that without spoiling? I'll let you take it over.
Sure. I mean, it's obviously important to have representation, even though the story, you know, if you read the prologue, it starts out ancient Greece, ancient Rome. So it's like, you know, I could have had a whole cast of just characters from there, but it was like, I wanted to bring in more depth. And so I found ways to bring in more characters and more backgrounds and more cultures, because I wanted it to sort of be this blend, because it is a very small world. And I was like, okay, what happens if we put all these cultures and people together and just kind of let it go from there? So I don't really know how to like say it without giving away a lot of
go watch the character video. I have it in the link here in the chat, so you can kind of see what we're talking about. Let's see, what can I add that doesn't spoil anything? It adds more intrigue to the world itself, since, like she mentioned, it is a small world, the way that it was created. So figuring out how it involved all of these different cultures and backgrounds. Hey, shh. He has something to say, I guess. That there weren't any dogs. He wants dogs in the next book, by the way.
I was really thinking about it this first book. I was like, I want more animals and more creatures.
You have horses.
I think we're gonna get that much later. There were a few animals in the first one.
There was that weird alligator thing.
Yes. So we do get some monsters and some creatures.
Yes, get some monster art done. That one is like terrifying.
Oh yeah, I had looked up gosh, I wish I had the picture to show you. But I was like looking up all these monsters, and this one person had illustrated something, and it was so scary, and I was like, okay, this would definitely elicit fear in this world.
Right. Yes.
So
yeah, some like alligator dog lion thing.
Yeah.
Alligator lion. Yeah, it was like but it's not called that. It's just something. But to finish my point, there will be dogs.
Based off an ancient Egyptian goddess, like very loosely based. Yeah.
Have you watched any of Moon Knight? Total tangent.
That's the goddess we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're on the same page. If anybody's a fan of Marvel, go watch Moon Knight.
Yes.
Back to the book here. That was my promotion for the day. So yeah, I think a lot of my intrigue with the world, because we get a good taste of this world in a small-ish portion. I did want more, but it makes sense because it's the first book and you are going to expand on it.
Yeah.
But part of that, learning about how the world expanded when it is like isolated in very many ways, is really pulling me in. So I'm looking forward to those explanations in book 2.
Yeah, I definitely had to have a way. I was like, it's so small. How can I use up all of this space? So, as you read in the prologue, I use the ocean. Like, it's there. I'll use the ocean to put some people in there, and we'll put some people in the mountains and the forest. And yeah, I was like, we're going to use all this space.
Yes, we got a whole world to fill from scratch.
Yes.
Let's see, where were we at? So I keep mentioning I'm looking forward to book 2, and we know this is a series because it's the Chaos series. It says it right on the cover. How many books do you have planned for the series?
3.
3. Okay.
Yes.
Trilogy. Trilogies are great. And they're all linear, I presume?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So something you don't really see a lot is, even a TV show or a book or something, you get this cliffhanger in book 1, and then you go to book 2, and it's like, it takes you so many chapters to get there, and you're like, go back to it. So I was like, you know what? We're going to start book 2 exactly where book 1 left off, which I think is super fun.
Yes, because you had, and it's a beautiful scene to visualize as a cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say anything, but and if anyone watched my review beforehand, the only issue I really had with Megan's book was a little bit of the pacing, because I expected it to be A, B, C, but it was A, B, C, cliffhanger. Yep. So that was just for me. You guys might feel differently, but so definitely check it out. So I won't.
I've heard that, and I've heard the total opposite, where people were like, you should have shortened the first third of the book, and it should have just all been,
Oh, but I loved the first third.
Yeah. I was like, no, we can't get rid of that. So.
No, because there's that was a incredibly strong build-up for especially Annabelle's character.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for Sam as well. Obviously, we have 2 other characters we get introduced to, we don't get too much about, but I think because we are set with Sam and Annabelle's relationship and that struggle, that was a really strong start. And then we branch off a little bit in part B, which is primarily following Sam, and then we get the world. And it makes you want to go back to Sam and Annabelle because you know those characters so well.
Yeah.
So
Yes. So book 2 will definitely have more POV. We're going to start with Annabelle's POV just to make you happy. But yeah, we definitely get a lot more Annabelle. So far it's not a lot of Sam. I'd always, in my mind, it was like book 1 was, you know, maybe a third Annabelle and the rest was Sam, with a little bit of our villain in there. We do get a slight peek into our villain's POV.
Yes.
And then book 2 is a little more even with Sam and Annabelle, with maybe even just a little bit more Annabelle. And I'm definitely working in other POVs into that one. And then the last book is going to be much more heavily Annabelle's POV.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Okay. So since you brought it up, with the Dark Queen's POV, the first chapter that we had in her POV felt a little like it was kind of like setting up her background.
Yeah.
But then, like, we didn't hear or see anything from her until, like, towards the end.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, that was...
it will make much more sense in book 2.
Okay.
We get this tiny little detail that will completely make sense in the second book.
Okay. Because
I've had that question a lot. They were like, why are we getting this? And so I worked with critique partners on that. And they were like, I think you need to cut these chapters. And I was like, okay, well, let me tell you the rest of the series. And so I explained where it was going, and they're like, oh yeah, keep them. Like, you need them.
I have to wait. Because that was the one chapter where I did have the thing like, oh, we could have cut this and it wouldn't affect my view on the queen at all. So there must have been something about what she was talking about that's going to come up. But I really liked the last POV we had with her, where some plot twists happen, and especially what came out of that, because without saying the character's name now, the way they reacted to that was so clever. So clever.
Thank you.
Things I can't say on the interview, but guys, just read my excitement. It was clever. And it's
Thank you.
How long did it take you to... I guess that you there's a lot of planning that goes into a book, and then there's the writing process. So how long did book 1 take you?
From the first time I was outlining the book until the release on June 14th will be 3.5 years. And some people might think that's really short. Some people might think it's really long. I just wanted to make sure I was doing everything correct. And so there was a lot of research into that. Draft 1 was 33,000 words. It was very tiny. Yes.
Yeah.
There were a lot of characters that were not in it. And so it was like, it felt very empty to me. And I was like, okay, we need to like add characters, subplots, and really build this up without adding fluff, because I didn't want to just fill it with nonsense.
Not to interrupt, but I guess I am. Did you start the book going into it like this is a series? Or was it just, here's a story I want to write?
I knew it was going to be a series. I originally thought it was going to be a book of 4, and that book 1 was going to be basically like the first third of the book. And I was like, no, that's not going to work. And then it got pushed down to 3. Because I'm like, I can't imagine not having all the fantasy. Like,
yes, it's a game changer.
So yes, I did know it was going to be a series. Yeah.
Awesome. I love series. And you are working on book 2. We did talk about this a little bit before we went live. Probably won't take as long as book 1. Do we have any ideas or speculations?
So we're about 20,000 words in, and book 1 is, I think, 87,000 words.
Sounds about right.
And I definitely see book 2 being a little bit longer. You know, there's a lot more to put in there, a lot more world building, a lot more characters, which is going to be really fun. Gosh, I don't know. Maybe in the next year. I mean, ideally it'd be like the end of this year, but that's not going to happen. I haven't finished draft 1. I don't have critique partners yet. So, I mean, just that process alone takes at least 6 to 8 months, you know, getting the critiques and the betas and all the editing and stuff. For me, it was like 6 to 8 months. I know a lot of people can shorten it, but for me, that was the process. So I'm just going into it assuming that's how long it's going to be this time as well.
Right.
So, yeah, once draft 1 is done, which I don't know, a quarter of the way through, I would say 6 to 8 months after that. So maybe about a year.
Okay. So probably next summer, fall.
Yeah.
Reasonably.
That would be ideal. Yes.
Yeah. Do we have it's too early to talk about the title.
I do have a title. I have a title for books 2 and 3. But I have not given those out.
No.
Yet. I'm gonna
let's hold on to that.
I will say anyone who or anyone who orders the novel will know the name of book 2 because I put it in there. I put a little teaser in there for you. So yeah.
Excellent. Love it. Love seeing progress being made. And I guess we're going to branch from the titles into your book cover, which is gorgeous. Can I get it up here for y'all? I'm going to work on getting the cover up here while you talk about the cover designing process, because I know possibly some of our viewers are also indie authors and they might be curious about how you went and did it.
Yes. So, I mean, all the credit goes to my cover designer. She was fantastic. I mean, she really did everything. I had absolutely no visual of what I wanted. I was like, you know, there's so many different elements and pieces. And I'm like, how did they fit together? And so it was like, do I have something from 1905, but also I'm like, I had no idea what I was going to do. And I was looking at a lot of random covers and I found this cover that, yay, there's my book. But I found this cover and it's completely different from my cover. But it was like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's what I want to feel when I look at my book. It was amazing. And so I looked up who the cover designer was, and she's the one who did my book.
Nice.
So I was really, really happy because it was the first time I was like excited about my cover, was seeing her work. And I reached out to her and she was right in my budget and I was very happy. So I was like, yay, you're not charging me $10 million.
Right. And there is so much detail in this cover.
Yes.
With, you know, just the snake, the thorns and the roses. We got the little castle in the background there. And the text is gorgeous. Just very stylized. The thorn going through chaos is brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I don't know how she did it, but it's amazing. I'm like, I do not have this skill whatsoever.
Right. No, like she's a cover designer for a reason.
Oh yeah. So I reached out to her and she was available and I sent her so many emails, and they're like long emails that I sent her of what I wanted my book cover to feel like, you know, the genre, all these little elements. And, you know, she didn't add every single element. It was like what was most important. And I even sent her passages from the book so that she could really understand what my story was, what the world was. And this is very similar to the first draft that she sent me. I think,
which is great.
Yes, it was awesome. The tagline up above, I think it was under the Chaos series, and so there was more like roses up top. And I was like, okay, no, let's put it up top, and then
let's move it around.
Just like very, very tiny little changes. And I'm kind of a perfectionist, and so she was probably like, oh, stop it. But I was like, can you move this down like the slightest you can move it down? So
like 3 millimeters.
I was like, can you move it to the right barely? But she was awesome. She did everything that I wanted, and Yeah. So we started with the ebook cover. So I had that months before I was even finished with my book. So that I had, some promotional material. And then we worked on, very recently, I think 2 months ago, we worked on the wrap of the book, which I have here.
Let's put
so we got this, very simple, beautiful spine. And she brought in the book one.
Make you bigger. Solo layout. There we go.
Yeah, so she brought in, like on the cover, it has book one. And so she brought that in. And I just wanted very simple. This has a lot going on. And I was like, okay, the rest needs to just be very minimal, very simple. And so we came up with this, where it's just, the thorn, the colors, the little flecks of magic, and
gorgeous.
So.
And is that bring that back. Show off your book. So it's a hardcover copy?
This is hardcover, yes. And I am working with the printer to kind of fix it. You can see, like, I was like, what happened here?
It's a little,
we're trying to fix that so it all is beautiful and comes out correct.
Yeah.
But
and which one was this printed through?
This was printed through Ingram Spark.
Okay.
Yeah, and I also have Amazon, and the Amazon one came out perfectly beautiful the first time, which is like somewhere else in my house. But I think I'm going to have a video pretty soon where I go over the hardcover for Amazon versus Ingram, and then the paperback for Amazon versus Ingram Spark as well.
Cool.
Because they're definitely different qualities.
Yes.
They're both beautiful, but they're for sure different quality. And very different.
Is your book available through Barnes & Nobles as well?
Yes.
Okay. Are you doing the dust jacket?
No. So yeah, I did not. I did not work with them as the printer. I just uploaded through Nook. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so much, and I'm like, I don't want to work with 3 different like print on demand. So I was like,
true. I did too, and it was it was a struggle. But Nook was even harder for me to get to, so I just went through draft to digital.
That's what I did.
You can put it through Nook, and I was just like, that's fine.
Yes, draft to digital was extremely easy, and anytime I needed to re-upload anything, like when I had pre-orders go up, my book was not actually completely finished. The wrap was still with my cover artist, but it was like 2 weeks later it was finished, and I re-uploaded, and it was very easy draft to digital to just re-upload, and they send it back out to all the distributors, and it was super easy to do that.
Yes, they are very nice to work with.
Yeah.
And we talked about, I'm trying to think of all the venues. Amazon, obviously, through KDP, and Ingram Spark, that gets you into a lot of distributors.
Yes.
A lot. I can't even think of them all off the top of my head, but.
Oh yeah, it's a ton. Walmart is one of them. I think Target is supposed to be, but I looked and I didn't see it. So I don't know if it, for some reason, didn't. And then there's a lot that I'd never even heard of, but I'm sure people 100% use
somewhere.
Yeah, people use them. So
they're out there. They're out there, guys. Maybe another video from Megan to look for. Ingram Spark and stuff.
Yep.
Yes. Let's see. And we just got a few more questions that I prepared, but if anybody watching has questions, definitely leave them in the comments, which are over here on the other side of Megan, like whichever side of this is. So creating a book is a process, and you've put 3.5 years into Queendom of Chaos. So now that the release is coming, I'm sure there's more of that excitement is building.
Oh, for sure.
So is there anything in particular, either like in the story or in the process, in the release, that you're most excited about?
Just like details in the book, or
either in the book, like you know, you can't wait for characters to read blah, 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 or,
oh yeah,
you know, you can't wait to go to Walmart's website and look up your book, something like that.
Okay, so yeah, I guess there's a few things. You know, when you do a pre-order, Amazon doesn't show you how many people pre-ordered because they wait until it's out. And so I'm like, I'm so curious just to see, because I know I had so much support from friends and family, and I was like that was so special to me. And then a lot of people just like on YouTube and people who follow me told me that they pre-ordered, and it was like, it was so exciting. And so it was like, you know, the number doesn't matter, but I'm very curious. I'm like, how many people supported me?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be really exciting. And, you know, it's my first book. I don't anticipate making that much money. You know, if I could pay off what I spent on the book, that would be fantastic.
Always.
Yeah,
Always.
always the goal. Yeah, so I'm very excited to just for people to get their books. Like, people have been asking me for 3.5 years when they can read the book.
Right.
Like, it's so close. And a lot of friends and family, they're like, I can't wait to hold it in my hand. I'm like, I know. And when I got my book and I was like, am I holding my book right now?
It's so surreal. Like when you get that physical copy and you're like, it's a book.
Yeah, and I got it early. It wasn't supposed to be delivered till I think like a Wednesday, and then I got a notification from Amazon on I think a Sunday that it had come. And so I wasn't even prepared that day
Right.
to get my book, and I opened the front door and I was like, ah! Yeah, just all the excitement. I just really want to share my story, and I love hearing all sorts of feedback from people. It's amazing.
Yes.
I'm like, you can tell me what you didn't like about it. Like, I don't.
Absolutely. I went and criticized your book, and then I was like, hey, you want to do an interview?
You're like, this sucked. Let's no.
No, I wasn't that straightforward.
No, and it's fine because, like, you know, everyone has the right to their own opinion, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
you're
as
learning.
long as no one's being, yeah, exactly. As long as no one's being hateful and like saying horrible things to me, I'm like, you can say whatever you feel about my book.
Right.
So I just like every time like a review comes up on Goodreads, I'm like, I'm so excited to read it. So that's probably like the most exciting is just like sharing my book. And there's definitely like a few scenes in the book that I'm very curious how people felt about them. And
yes, well, you can always ask me, and I will tell you. We do have a question in the comments from Sarah Matthews. I'm going to bring it up here.
Oh, yeah.
So how did you, it's a two-parter, so we're going to start with, how did you decide where to begin in the story?
Okay. So let me show you, actually.
Ooh.
So I have like this whole binder here.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is. But I have this whole binder of stories that I have from when I was young, I would say around 5th grade. And so I have these stories that I had randomly kept. And this is the one that sparked the entire idea for the series. So it was, I actually had it as like a play. It was I was like, why did I write a play? But I don't know. And it just kind of sparked this idea. And so I started right before the inciting incident. I was like, let's just jump into the story. So we get, you know, the prologue, we get a little backstory on the world. And then chapter 1, I just wanted this moment with the characters where right away, you know, that these two characters are together, they're in love, they're supportive, they have a great relationship, but they're not supposed to be in a relationship. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, once that's established, I can just throw stuff at them. So
yes. Right away. Yeah. Right away. And then let's see, the second part of the question is, how did you decide what character story needed to be told first?
So I actually started the story in Annabelle's POV. And I had gotten through several drafts where it started with Annabelle, and I was like, this makes no sense. And it was like people weren't connecting with the opening. And I mean, people love Annabelle's character, but to start with Annabelle did not make sense. And so I really had to like sit down and think about it. And I was like, no, we need to switch to Sam. So it was like heavy rewrites of the first couple chapters to really get Sam in there up front. Yeah, it's his journey so far. You know, in the next books, and even in this book, you know, it's not only his story,
right?
But we needed to start there because that's just where everything kicks off. And
yes, he is very much the central cog in all of it. And now that you mention that, trying to picture, had you started it all with Annabelle's POV, I think it would have been very hard to jump into Sam coming after that. So
absolutely.
I can see that for sure. For sure. Cool. Thanks for the questions, Sarah. Again, anybody else who has questions, feel free to write them in the live chat going on here. I think I still might have a couple to pull out of my hat.
Sweet.
Yeah. So aside from the Chaos series, granted you're just starting this out, but do you have any plans or any dreams to write in different genres or different either storylines, things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I have like just this wide array of random genres that I'm like, okay, I have an idea for this book and it's over here. And it's just so much, like very widespread. I actually am about 18,000 words into a sports romance novel right now, which is really fun. It follows the world of Major League Baseball, but there's a little bit of a twist on it. So that's been really fun. I love baseball, and I'm like, I love sports, I love romance, and I was like, this would be a really fun story to tell.
Right.
So I am a little bit into that book. You know, like I said, I'm about 20,000 words into book 2. And then this very random story came to me recently where I was thinking of doing like a collection of short stories that would be like a horror story collection. And
like an anthology.
Exactly. And I had all these ideas. I was like, well, I could do one collection that would be like slasher, and then I could do more like psychological thrillers and stuff like that. So it's like I definitely have so many ideas. And like I mentioned before, you know, I love history, and like World War II is very fascinating to me. And I was like, what could I do World War II and fantasy together? So I'm like trying to brew in my mind how I could do that.
With Tegaya, because you have all the connections
exactly
to the world, you could just do a different branch.
I totally could.
And it might connect to that other thing that I was excited about.
Exactly. Yep.
Prequel. Ooh, time jump. Okay, different. Maybe not connected, but very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Once you start writing, you can't stop. In case anybody was curious, we can't stop.
Oh, yeah.
We already went over where people can buy your books, and I do have your channel, your website in the description. So if people are interested, they can definitely find more of that there.
Yeah.
And you've done a lot of promotion for this book, and you started quite a while ago. Like you said, even with your ebook cover, you got that way in advance before you had finished drafting and everything. So with everything you've done, because again, like we have other people who are probably in the same situation or like getting back into it, was one thing more, let's start with the enjoyable part. What was enjoyable about the promotion side of things and the marketing and all that?
Yeah. So the most enjoyable part is honestly, it's stuff like this, like the interviews and like just meeting people. Because when I first started out, I thought it was going to be like this very secluded, like it was just going to be me behind a computer, and that would be my whole connection with people. And it's been exactly the opposite. And I've made some really great friends, really great writing partners. And I feel like it's been pretty easy because a lot of people, you know, just being in the community will just come up to you and say, hey, can I interview you? Can we talk together? Can we collab on something? Yeah, exactly.
About a week.
Yeah. So I'm like, absolutely. You know, if you have a channel that talks about books or fantasy books or whatever, like I'm totally down to come on anyone's channel and just chat books. Like it's so much fun.
Snag her up, guys.
Exactly.
Come on, she's gonna talk for free.
Exactly. So that's definitely been the most fun. And I have a few interviews coming up. I have one this month. I believe it's May 22nd. If you guys follow Zarina Matcha, she is awesome. She's an indie author based in London. So it was really fun getting our schedules coordinated for that. But and then J.M. Chaley is going to be a part of that as well, which I see you in the comments. Hi.
Yes. Hello.
So yeah, we're going to be on there and just kind of be talking about each of our books and just writing stuff. And J.M. Chaley. His name is Jamie. Sorry. Very under the bus there. But I read his book. We were like critique partner / beta readers. It was like we weren't critique partners, but we weren't beta readers. So it was like we were supposed to be beta readers, but we really had like a lot to say about it. So he was very
like, let's go in depth about this.
Yeah. And I loved his book, and I was like, we have to do a collab. So we actually did 2 collabs together, which you can watch. One's on my channel and one's on his channel. And we talk about the magic system in both of our books, which was really fun. And then we have another one, which is writing outside your gender. Obviously, you know, my MC is Sam, a male character, and then his is a female character. So that was really fun to talk about. And then Amy Rosenfeld, I'm going to be on her channel pretty soon. It's so much fun. I'm like, I just want to talk books and everything. So, yeah.
Okay. So it's been a lot of fun. But everything is not sunshine and rainbows.
No.
What has been the hardest for you in this past 3.5 years?
Learning everything, because I started from zero. You know, my Instagram was basically just family, and there was, I don't know, maybe 30 people followed me. So it's like, okay, how do I promote when I have absolutely nothing? And then I started with my YouTube channel and, you know, started at 0. And I think the first week I had like 10 subscribers because it was just friends and family who were very kind and they followed me. So I think it's just learning everything and building everything. That when you first start is the hardest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, girl, I can tell you that.
Yes, starting is 100% the most challenging. And I definitely have several videos on this topic on my channel where
Megan Aldridge on Instagram.
Yes.
Underscore and then the 1.
Yeah. Apparently Megan Aldridge is like a super popular name. I was like, okay. But I was like, we'll be Megan Aldridge 1.
Yes.
Yeah, but
she also has a puppy. For those who
oh, Lacey, she's the sweetest girl. And everyone's like, her ears. I'm like, she's got huge ears. Just getting started.
Okay, I'm distracted by dogs.
I definitely have a few dog photos there. You know, your first 100 subscribers, or you know, your first 100 audience or followers or whatever, they're the hardest to get because no one knows you, and so they're like, why would I follow you? You have 10 followers. Are you doing something wrong?
Yes.
And it's like, no, I'm building.
Right. It's like, y'all, I'm starting out.
Yeah.
It would help if you told me what you want.
Yeah. Like, it's easy to follow someone who has 300,000 subscribers because you know that they're producing content. And
yes.
It's always like you have to take a chance on someone who's starting out because they might fizzle out and disappear. So once you really prove to your audience that, like, I'm here to stay, we're doing everything right. And I have so many videos, and it's like, I want to do things the right way. I don't want to just pump out a book. I want to do every part of the process correctly. And so once you kind of prove to your audience that you're going to stick around and you're doing things the best that you can, you definitely will gain more of a following, which makes promotion so much easier because your audience wants to promote for you.
Yes. And for sure, like even Sarah says, she's in the same boat. She's doing everything alone right now. So let's network, which is,
sure.
I really did not do a very good introduction because I was invaded by puppies. But with my channel here on Halo Moon Studios, not only, doing my own thing, but I've been trying to make an effort the past, it's going on a year. I think about last year, this time I started with my first indie review with the intention of promoting other indie authors, newer channels, because right now, especially on AuthorTube, you have like a big 3, which may not have the best reputation. Yeah. And I'm trying to bring up everybody else.
Exactly.
Like share. So definitely, if any of you guys are interested in promoting your book, stuff like that, send me a comment, hit me a message. But yeah, doing everything alone, super hard.
Yeah.
Always hard.
I would say, find people who are where you are in the journey.
Yeah.
Because you might think, oh, I need the person with the most subscribers because then it's all just going to come flooding in. But like they're at such
a different time for you.
No, they do not. The people who are going to be excited are the people who are at the same point in their journey that you are.
For sure.
So, yeah.
And we have a question from Leah. How are you able to decide what to make your characters look like? So I think we're delving into a bit of the character art that you have, as well as the diversity throughout your world.
Yeah. A lot of them, an image just kind of came to my mind based on their personality, where I'll take Ace, for example. He's one of the ones, he's kind of like the only guy who has like an expression really on his face when you look at the character art. And it was just like, I knew he was kind of the funny guy. He understands hard situations and he understands the depth of what he's going through, but he still wants to put a smile on your face. He's still gonna make a situation try to feel lighter. And so it was like the first thing for me was his smile. And then I always felt like he was, running his hands through his hair and just kind of being
mousy.
Yeah, like just like a child, very childlike. And so all these little details put together kind of created what I imagined that they would look. Yeah, there he is.
Is it on screen? Okay. Yep. Every time I look at it, it like goes black. So I'm just gonna look at it over here.
Oh yeah, there he is. There's Ace. So for me, it really just started with these details, and a lot of them I didn't have a very clear idea of what they look like. Sam, I knew exactly what he looked like. Annabelle, I knew exactly what she looked like. The Dark Queen, Karis, but some of the other characters, I didn't have a clear vision, and that's where my character artist was amazing. I sent him just a lot of more ideas of what I had. I'm like, this is their personality, obviously Gadriel's, he's an elf. So I'm like, well, he's an elf, so we got to get that in
he's
there.
A dark elf.
Yes, he is. He's very, very brooding. And it was more personality based, and, obviously some like features mattered, Sam's skin color obviously matters for the story's sake. Some characters, I really just wanted to think of where their background was. And so like Jew.
Oh, okay.
So for Jew, I didn't know exactly what she was going to look like. I knew that she was an elf, and I kind of knew where her story was going. And so I got a lot of her background, and her background fit a lot of this other stuff. And so I just kind of sent that to the artist, and I was like, here's the important stuff. And he came out with this, and I was like, there she is. That is perfect. And I feel like he got everyone's personality in there so great. I was so happy with it. Oh yeah, and then Somchai, he's also great. Now he's so sweet.
I pictured him a little less muscly just because he's a sweet character. Like he's a guard, but he's a sweet character. So I was like, oh yeah, I guess he would have muscle.
Yeah.
But yeah. Cool. So awesome. Like I said, the character art was what really hooked me into your channel and everything.
So thank you. Yeah, for sure. It was incredible. And I found him on Fiverr. So I know a lot of people.
It's a legit thing.
They don't like to work on Fiverr. And I'm like, as long as you know what to look for, it's a great platform.
Yes. And also, since you were learning and going through the process with everything, it makes sense that you're going to experiment, try out Fiverr, try out however.
There's something
a lot easier than doing your own.
Maybe don't do on Fiverr. There were some bad experiences, but most of them were very positive.
Yeah. And it is a professional site.
I'm on there. You can find some services of mine that I don't offer on my website. I do minimalist logo design, like very, very minimalist logo design. I offer beta reading on there. I offer just a couple random things on there.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that we have the Instagram, we have all of your YouTube videos. Do you think one has been more, I don't know which other ones you have off the top of my head. Do you think one has been more helpful than the others, or do they kind of work in tandem?
YouTube for sure has been much more helpful to me, probably because of the fact that I'm more consistent there. I post weekly on there. I was looking back at my first year, which I was very recent in the last couple of weeks. So I made a video looking back, and it was like I had made, I think, 61 or 62 videos within that year. So it was like I was very consistent posting weekly with some bonus videos. I wish I were more consistent on Instagram. I'm trying, you guys. I'm sorry. I post in my Facebook group periodically as well, which is really fun there. I'm trying to be better, but because of the consistency, YouTube has been much more beneficial for me. And I've had people know that I'm a proofreader because of my YouTube channel. And so I've gotten proofreading work from there, and a lot of people want to do collabs, and it's much easier to do collabs and stuff like that on YouTube than it is on Instagram.
Instagram,
what are you gonna do there?
Right.
So there's just a lot more connection on YouTube. So I think that's why it's been better for me.
Obviously.
Yep.
Just like, hey, you do videos, you'll be okay with this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is there anything we can, aside from obviously continuing the Chaos series, anything you have planned for us to look forward to in the future on YouTube with writing, life? Here's that awkward moment I promised.
Yeah. You know what? Let me pull up my YouTube schedule and tell you some things that we can look forward to.
We're getting behind the scenes footage, guys. Behind the scenes, exclusive, only on
only here on this channel.
Here at Halo Moon Studios, the studio of one.
You get the scoop first.
Just get it.
Okay.
You get it.
So we've got so I had a video a couple months back that people really liked, and it was how to find a great developmental editor. And I went through basically the entire process of what is a developmental editor, why do you need them, what can you expect, how much are you going to pay, what's the process look like. So I really went in depth on that. And so I have a video coming up very soon on finding a great copy editor and a great proofreader. And because I get that question from people all the time, we're like, how do you find your editors? How do you find good people that you know aren't going to be a scam? So I have that coming up. Let's see. I'm going to be doing a video on income streams for authors. Because, publishing a book costs money. And sometimes you have to be really creative with
Yes.
the way that you get your money. And I am very happy and fortunate to say that my business paid for the entire publishing of my book, which is super awesome. But I also have other ways that I make money. And so it's like sometimes you just need the idea or seeing someone else do it. So I have that coming up. Gosh, what else do we have? I'm learning ads right now.
Ooh,
so I'm not an expert, but
more power to you.
Once I figure them out, if I figure them out, I would like to make a video on that. But that's, I'm never going to make a video that I don't feel confident or comfortable with. So if I get through this ads and I find that it just like didn't do anything for me, I'll be super honest. I won't be like, this is definitely how you run an ad. So I might be like, okay, I failed. This is how
I tried this.
Yeah, it didn't
Here's
work.
what happened.
So yeah, and once my book is out, I will have a breakdown of the cost of my book. And I'm going to list literally everything that I spent on the book and what I think is crucial that you should be doing, or things that maybe I didn't have to spend money there. Yeah, it's just, I want to focus on helping people self-publish or write and get traditionally published. But obviously I don't have any experience with traditional publishing, so it's more focused on self-publishing. But I want to help people. Like, if I'm going to make all these mistakes, like, learn from me. Don't do the same thing.
Exactly. Book conventions. Has that been a thing that's crossed your mind?
It has. I don't know if there's any close to me. I might do just like small book signings if I can find somewhere. So my husband's in the military, so we live near a military base, and I know that they love to have, people come in, and so I'm like, I could do that, but that's like only for military people who can be at that book signing. But I'm like, I think that would be
local library.
Fun. Yeah.
Their systems are different depending on like what county or however. But they're usually like super, especially if they have a teen program or something like that. They're like, oh, you write, you local.
Yeah, I would definitely love to do that. Vendor events, different stuff like that. I'm just in such an awkward place that it's like I'm about 3.5 hours from Atlanta, so I'm sure there's a ton of conventions there. But am I gonna drive? Like, do I want to drive 3.5 hours there? I'm like,
do a weekend.
Yeah, so I'm still figuring out exactly what I'm gonna do, but I will definitely have local book signings for sure. And just, like I said, I have to learn something before I'm going to dive into it and talk about it.
Right.
So I really need to look into the conventions and be like, is this best for me? Am I definitely going to do it? Figure out where they are. But I'm always open to new ideas and stuff like that. So.
For sure. Cool. Well, we got the scoops and the first interview of something. June 14th, Queendom of Chaos is coming out. Definitely pre-order if you haven't already. She has a giveaway going on. There's a link, I think, at the top of the chat where you can go directly to her video talking about the pre-order giveaway.
And there's books in it too. So
and there's books
from other indie authors. I was like, that's super important to me. Is like, you know, I could give away a bunch of merch, but like, let's promote and build each other up. So I was like, let's get these indie books out there. So
definitely. So is there anything? I don't think we have any other questions to go through in the comments. I've gone through my list without stuttering too much.
Yay.
So any final thoughts?
Oh gosh, we talked about so much.
I know.
What is left? What is left?
What is life? 5.
Gosh. I think we covered, most of it.
We covered pretty much everything, and we are now to that awkward goodbye.
Yeah. I will say, if anyone else would like to get an ARC, would like to review the book early, I do have a video for that out, and I'm still accepting ARC readers right now.
Yes. can link.
Yeah, you can read my book early. It's not the final version. I'm still going through it myself, getting every last little thing that I want to change, but it's 99% done. So
I will link that too real quick before we sign off. And I want to look at the screen when I talk about this, but we're requesting art reviewers. There we go. All right, here's the link for anybody who is interested in getting an ARC copy. That's how I was able to read Queendom of Chaos and decided, heck yeah, we are doing an interview.
Yeah, and if anyone wants me on their channel, or if you guys want to be on my channel, if you're starting to build your audience or build your channel, definitely reach out to me. You can email me, author@meganaldridge.com, or follow any of the links below. Like, there's a ton of ways you can get a hold of me. So
yes,
let me know.
Tons. All right. So thank you guys for watching, whether you watch this live or whether you're watching a replay of this. Like I said, check out Megan Aldridge's new book coming out June 14th, Queendom of Chaos, available like everywhere. Amazon, draft to digital, so all of your ebook sources should be in other distributors, but you'll have more on that on your channel and your website. Pre-order, join the giveaway, learn about some other indie authors, support the little guys.
Yes, and, so important.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely thank you. And if you guys have an indie book you'd like me to read, review, possibly interview, I guess this might become a thing. Leave it in the comments below or send me a message and we will talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you all. Bye.
Bye. And I had to hit the button again. End.